The breaking news: there is a ceasefire between Israel and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Egypt brokered the deal with the help of Qatar. Now here's the latest. The ceasefire started at 10 p.m. Israel time. Even after the ceasefire, the Islamic Jihad still launched some missiles. All in all, 1,200 missiles were lobbed into Israel. 1/4 of them were misfired and landed back into Gaza. Israel's Operation Shield and Arrow eliminated at least 6 top commanders of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Israel's National Security Advisor Zahi Hagnebi said quiet will be answered with quiet. We have live team coverage from every angle. Ariel Otsaran, I-24 Middle East correspondent, joins me live now from Sderot. Hi, Ariel. How are you? What's going on over there now?
Hey, good morning, Albert. So Sderot, the city perhaps that dealt with the brunt of the rocket fire towards southern Israel over the past 5 days during Operation Shield and Arrow. The morning here, very, very quiet. We're here at the main shopping center, which is still slow to wake up. And this, of course, follows the good news for locals here regarding the ceasefire reached last night with Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Now, as you mentioned, the ceasefire went into effect at 10 p.m., but as usually happens in this part of the world, it takes another hour for things to really settle in, and for about an hour and a quarter there was still an exchange of rocket fire as well as Israeli strikes. But since then, so far throughout the morning, quiet morning here, especially for the residents of Sderot, who I think are pleased and relieved to wake up in a morning like this. However, at least according to the Homefront Command guidelines, while all restrictions were lifted, there are still there's no schools here this morning in the 40-kilometer radius around the Gaza Strip, but everything else, all the other restrictions, have been lifted.
Now, Ariel, the one thing that, though, I'm sure people are waking up in the morning, they still have their phones ready to go with one eye open, just making sure everything is okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, look, ceasefires here are very delicate. I mean, as we just described, but you and I, even after a ceasefire comes into effect, nothing ensures that it will stay that way. And also, this ceasefire in particular is a little tense. I mean, there's tense quiet this morning, but also this comes ahead of the next flashpoint already. Eyes are set for Thursday with the Jerusalem Day March, the Flag Day March there. That is something that in the past has been a cause for flare-up. Now, I think for both sides, they're happy that the fighting didn't drag on until then. But indeed, you know, at least while quiet has been reached now, this is always in this part of the country a tense quiet, with the next flare-up just around the corner later this week.
Great. Ariel Osseron joining us live now from Sderot. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm joined now in studio by Martin Himmel. He's an international security analyst, and with Owen Alterman, the I-24 senior correspondent. First, let me start with you, Martin. So this deal that was brokered, it's still a very tense deal. It's still a very tense truce here.
Oh, it's very tenuous, that's for sure. It could be broken at any second. But there's some solid motivation behind it. Islamic Jihad has lost 6 top commanders at least. We don't know how many other activists have been eliminated.
Right.
Israel wants to get life back to normal as fast as possible in the south. And so there is this motivation to make it work.
So, Owen, who won here? Where do we stand?
Look, I think in the macro level, Israel, in a sense, continues to win. I mean, 16 years since Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip, right, and instituted or started implementing its Muqawama strategy, its resistance strategy. Albert, 16 years later, for both Hamas and Islamic Jihad, 0 strategic achievements. Israel is stronger in every way. We talked about this over the course of the campaign, and this just proved it again. If Israelis want a picture to symbolize it, I think it's that concert in Yarkon Park a few days ago, right? 36,000 people. You're nodding your head. So I'm talking about 36,000 people at a concert, overhead Iron Dome interceptions, and life continues. Obviously, much more disrupted in southern communities. Many people had to leave, and obviously a very difficult situation for young children, for the elderly, for the handicapped, but still no real way at denting Israel's position through this strategy. As Martin also said, Islamic Jihad lost 6 commanders. On the other hand, reporting from Gaza and commentary from Arab and Palestinian commentators says that Islamic Jihad actually improved its standing standing in Palestinian public opinion because it's seen as the one who stood up to Israel, who resisted. So if the goal in Gaza is to give people a sense of efficacy and dignity, well, maybe in that case, Islamic Jihad won. If the goal is actually to advance the Palestinian cause in a concrete way, no, this didn't do it. And in a sense, Israel continues to have an advantage.
But then what took so long? Why took 5 days? Why not try to get to this at day 2, day 3?
Well, listen, I think it's at a certain point, Israel continued to feel that it had more objectives to meet, that it had more targets to hit without taking on too much risk of civilian casualties or of mistakes. And from Islamic Jihad side, again, in order, if it's upside from a campaign like this is to improve its standing internally in public opinion and seeing to be the one to resist, then it needs to continue to resist, at least until that impression is fully absorbed. So that's my best guess. Also, Islamic Jihad, of course, put out conditions that Israel wasn't willing to meet. But again, what's behind that, putting on those conditions? Maybe exactly that they continued to see an advantage, at least for a certain period of time, in being seen as the one who is resisting Israel. Again, Albert, though, at least from the way we can look at it from the outside, without really having any concrete gains for Palestinians. Though again, if Palestinians prioritize the emotional feeling of improving their sense of efficacy and dignity, so be it. It's ultimately for their decision to make.
Great. Martin, one question about Egypt and Qatar being involved. Talk to how many chips did they win off of this?
Well, Egypt is still the kingpin negotiator when it comes to reach some sort of stability in the region. It seems to have the contact with all the various sides in order to calm things down as quickly as possible. Qatar is a strong advocate of Islamic Jihad, and they are there to show that they are going to give backing and strength, etc. The other big player is Iran. I mean, the leadership of Islamic Jihad was sitting in Beirut. Iran's got a big presence in Beirut. That is the key player here. How long did the Iranians want to keep pressing Islamic Jihad to do this? Islamic Jihad's not a government. It doesn't provide social services. It's a fighter, and it's a surrogate of Iran here.
Now, there was a lot of talk about the worry that Hamas would join the fight.
Right.
Nonetheless, they still published a document that kind of gave support to what was going on. Why do you think Hamas took that step back, that they didn't?
Well, that depends. There's two possible answers for that, and they're probably both right, even though they're contradictory. One is that they saw how the leadership of Islamic Jihad was wiped out, and they don't want the same thing to happen to them. So it has to be a pretty big reason when to go into a conflict with Israel, which is a form of deterrence that Israel wanted to impress on them. The other side is, well, they've effectively created a surrogate arm that can go to war and keep them out of it. They get the same effect of shutting down southern Israel, which is a pressure point, a very important one, shutting down other parts of Israel, disrupting life, and yet they don't have to go to war. That's a pretty good deal.
So the thought here, though, was it that they were trying to take a look to see just how far we got to limit, just how far before we get involved in the next, God forbid, conflict that occurs?
Well, this was definitely a test. The important thing here was a test. And Israel wanted to show them, if you're going to get involved, some of you are not going to see the light of day again, meaning the leadership. It's one thing to send your troops out there to die for the cause, another thing for you to die for the cause. Right. And I think that's the message they tried to ram home. And I think for Hamas, it was a test, too, to see how much resolve Israel has, how much are they going to push this, and they pushed it pretty far.